How you doing, guys? So, good evening. It's us again. I'm just going to invite my friend Pav. Okay, here we go, bro. Here we go. Here we go. It's coming. How you doing, sir?
Yes, sir. Oh, there you are, guys.
I'm not staying.
Okay.
I'm dealing with the kids, but all the best.
Good luck to you then.
Thank you.
Let's see.
Hey, Pav. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. As good as you can be in these, what was it called? Unprecedented times, right?
Well, yeah. Yeah. For England, anyway. Can you hear me all
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. It's all
Good. So let me just introduce what's happening today. So, my friends, welcome to, well, this is the This Is Marriage Instagram page. Welcome to all of you who are joining. I'm going to try and wave to you and shout you as much as I can, but I know that the conversation is going to be a little bit fiery, and interesting. So bear with me. Vivi Vasquebrat. Oh, so these are some of your friends, I'm guessing. No, we don't know who they are. Charlie.
International.
This is it. It's worldwide now. That's right. So, appreciate you all joining us. This is my friend Pav. You're a pastor, aren't you?
Well, yes.
In my
Yes,
eyes,
I'm
you
not
are.
working. I'm not working as one.
Yeah.
At the moment, but yeah, that is my training, and yeah, looking forward to starting my work officially.
Yeah. When you're looking at starting.
Don't know. See, this is the thing. I mean, I don't know how many people are aware or have been informed or even know how it functions. But basically, we have these in our church. We have these administrative bodies that are the ones who employ you and provide you with a placement in a church, etc.
Yeah.
And the current one that I belong to geographically has been going through some rough time financially, and then obviously this whole Corona thing happened.
Yeah.
So they're not in a position to offer me an official position at the moment. But we're talking, and in the meantime, I'm just trying to keep myself busy in that field. Preaching whenever I can, whenever I'm invited. Just recently went to Denmark for like a youth week of, they call it Week of Inspiration at one of our schools there. And then I came back, and like a few days after they shut the borders with Denmark.
Lucky you.
So that was that. I was meant to go to Serbia in April, also on a preaching appointment, but then that got cancelled because Serbia's in a lockdown as well. So it's a bit weird, but yeah, looking forward to officially starting work as a pastor. In the meantime, I'm a volunteer pastor, and for a living, I work at a petrol station. So which is now considered essential work apparently, because we're selling food as well. So yeah, there's no lockdown for me, man. I'm just going to work as normal.
Lucky
I'm working
you.
tomorrow morning. Yeah, I'm working tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock.
Lucky you. Well, I won't keep you too late. Yeah,
It's
but listen, man. What we do is we'll touch on how you're going through this Corona thing. I'm going to ask everybody that, because this is, in a sense, I guess, our lockdown series. We're going to try and do this every day for the next couple of weeks at least. We've got so many people lined up, so it might go on beyond that, to be honest. But we want to just have comment, because I had a load of how you doing, MKA8226. I had a load of appointments to do some shoots, and then this happened, and we covered one recently, and I haven't edited it yet, guys, but it's there, coming soon. And obviously that hasn't happened. But whilst people are on lockdown, man, this is the best thing we could do. And I see church changing its face right now, changing its methodology, and it's a really interesting time. It's a really interesting time. And you know what? Just to let you guys know, I've known you just for maybe a couple of years, 2-3 years maybe. And this man preached at my church. Were you associate pastor there as well?
I was on placement there during my
Placement.
studies.
And
Yeah.
you honestly, at that time, you preached a sermon, probably my top three. And don't get me wrong, the way you preach isn't what makes you a great pastor. I don't know how good a pastor you are, but I know that in terms of breaking down the words, you preach something there about God and how his name means more. It's not just an adjective, it's a verb. Anyway, bro, preach that sermon again for me one day soon on Instagram Live. I'll be there.
Appreciate that, man.
I'm all
Appreciate that
about
from you.
um, doctrinal integrity and not just emotionalism. They can walk hand in hand, but I like the way you minister, very educated, in a very educated way. It speaks to me. And you've been married for how long now, bro? Because you got an interesting story.
Yeah, so okay, so there's two dates.
That's right.
There's the date when we got registered in
Hopefully
the
she'll give us a little visit, just like a 2-minute visit or something today.
sorry?
Hopefully she'll give us a little visit for a minute or two in this session.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, when she said if she hears that it's interesting to her, she said that that she would, you know, she would come in and join in. But at the moment, I know she's on a phone call in the other room.
Yeah,
But yeah, she said she will check up on us in a minute. So
lovely.
there's two dates. One date was when we got registered, and that was we had the anniversary of that 2 days ago. Was it 2 days? Yeah, on the 26th of March was when we actually got registered last year.
Yeah.
But then the actual wedding, the church ceremony, the party, all of that was in May. So at the end of May, we're looking at a whole year. So yeah, that's how long we've been married. Almost a year, or more than a year, depending on how you're counting. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to count that, but I appreciate because you are quite frank about your relationship journey. People need that. The purpose of what we're doing really is about helping people navigate relationships effectively. Because a lot of people are dropping out of the game or doing it really badly when it could be done a lot better with just a little bit more counsel from people who are willing to share. Before we go into your relationship, bro, how are you dealing with this lockdown?
I don't know, man. Like I said, it's not. It doesn't feel like a lockdown to me, because I just go to work. No?
Oh yeah, you got to work, right? Yeah, yeah.
So it just feels like normal to me. The only thing is at work it's a bit different, because we try and stay protected as much as we can. We try and wear gloves. We try and make sure that people don't queue in a straight line altogether. So we kind of break down the queue into different queues, etc. when they come in the shop. But all of that feels like, I don't know, maybe not enough, because we still get loads of people coming through the store. Like in one day, I would serve between 200 and 300 people.
Is that a lot?
Based on the, well, that is the normal numbers that we've had always. So it doesn't feel like a lockdown. It just feels like normal, you know. Serve the same number of people. People still buy fuel. They need to buy food, and sometimes they come to us because they can't be bothered to go to the big shops, the big supermarkets. They're too far away, or it's just long with the, you know, the special hours that they've introduced, etc. So they just come to us and get their essentials. It was bad. It was really bad a week ago, exactly a week ago. Over the weekend, the staff that was working over the weekend sent messages in the group saying, guys, we need to put some measures in place, because when the delivery comes, all the stuff is loaded up on cages, big cages, and the cages are wheeled in, and then people work the cages and put the stuff on the shelves and in the chillers and everything. And they said we couldn't do it because people would walk straight from the door into the cage and just grab the things from the cage and start going to the till. And it was just madness. And so they introduced another measure now. So when the delivery comes, they close the shop until everything is worked out and put where it needs to be. So you can only serve the people. You know the night hatches that you use at petrol stations in the nighttime.
Yeah.
So in the daytime, you serve people through that and just the bare minimum, just fuel and whatever you can get until everything is put on the shelf. and then they open it for everyone.
I'm just going to ask you one favor. Can you just reserve me a box of eggs, please? Just one. Just one.
Do you know what? Yeah, I can try. I can try. I can't make any promises, you know.
Yeah,
there's a guy that normally brings the eggs, a local farmer that we have a contract with. He stopped coming. So now they need to source the eggs through the central warehouse where they get all the other orders from.
Wow.
So yeah, eggs on the endangered list at the moment.
Yeah.
We do get eggs probably every other day. And then we keep them in the back, and we don't put them in the shelf. We keep them in the back, and when someone asks, then it's basically up to the cashier's discretion to see, you know, whether this person should get the eggs. Really, you know, it's not.
It's tough.
There's no clear guidelines, you know.
Yeah.
They tell you, well, if it's an elderly person, then yeah, give them the eggs, or if you see they have kids, give them the eggs. But then you don't know if they have kids. They might have kids at home, you know.
Yeah.
So I just give eggs to anyone who asks, really. But we just have to keep it one box per person, etc. And it's mad. But then my wife, she's at home, because she works in an office and they've asked them to work from home, so she has a bit more time. And on the one hand, it doesn't feel like a lockdown. On the other hand, it's all around you, and like you can't, not just the lockdown, but the whole corona situation. Like you come home, and whether you want it or not, your phone is buzzing. You get all these numbers, all these statistics, you know, number of deaths, number of people infected, and all kind of put some pressure that, you know, I don't like it. I don't like it. Like I'm literally putting effort into actively avoiding hearing about the virus just to, you know, stay sane, you know. Like the time that I would normally spend reading a book, I want that time to still be the time for reading a book. I don't want to spend it watching the news.
You know, even the best of us, and I consider myself fairly resilient. We're going to move on in a second. I consider myself fairly resilient into the emotional challenges of hearing about it all the time. But even myself, who, if I absorb a lot of that information, it has an impact. And so everybody needs to take care to look after this, look after the heart when it comes to this, and zone out of that whole corona story, because the news is just only dealing with that. They're not talking about anything else. Luckily, unless you tune into Radio 4, which is really helpful because it's business as usual. But apart from that, and some of the music channels on the radio, but you really do have to zone out of popular TV and look after your mind, because it's dangerous, you know, and it causes you to make decisions on a negative emotional basis. I'm looking after myself. I don't listen to much. I pick it up here and there.
Do you know what hits me the hardest though about the lockdown?
Yeah. What's that?
I can't go to the barbers, fam. That's
you know
what bothers me.
You need to
Listen,
do this.
you aspire. Do you know what? Like I've been thinking.
I know what's gonna happen.
This is the thing. Listen. So I have the full kit at home, because when I was studying in the dorms, I used to give other guys haircuts. So I have everything you can imagine related to cutting hair.
Yeah.
I just can't do it myself. My wife is shouting from the other room. She's saying I offered to help. She's been wanting to do it.
Come on,
and
man.
You know what? I've been scared. I'm seriously scared to let.
Well, what are you looking for? A fade?
Yeah, like a skin fade and a little. You know, but this is the thing. This might be my breakthrough. Do you know why? Because for a while now, I've been losing hair, bro, and it's terrible. And I've been thinking, you know what? I can't do this. I'm just gonna chop it all off. And I haven't had the courage to do it.
Yeah.
So if my wife messes it up, which is probably likely,
yeah,
that might be a good excuse to just, make the step and be like, you know what, that I had to do it,
bro.
So next time we tune in, we might look more alike,
I am here for you. This has been in fashion for a while, and you've got a beard. You're lucky you got a beard. This has been in fashion for a while.
The beard's all right, but it's just this. If this continues in a week, I'll look like Yeti, man. It's terrible.
Hey, let's do it, man. Join the club.
Yeah.
So here we go. Thank you for your intro, man, and into your life, and tell your wife to join us soon. So check this out. You and I had a conversation, and this is where we begin. Nita said, "Go for it. Go for." Oh yeah, go for the hiccup, bro. The question is this. You and I are going to hammer this out. Don't do it, Pav.
She was paid. She was paid by my wife to say that.
Can equality and fairness exist in a relationship, in a marriage? I think we have to go to a marriage on this one. Can it exist? Can we treat each other fairly? Can there be equality? And how does this impact finance and how we manage money between us? Those are the two topics we're looking at today. What do you think? And do you want to do some definition for us? So is there a difference between equality, fairness, and equity?
Do you know, I mean, people have been bouncing all sorts of labels and all sorts of concepts around trying to talk about this. Personally, I would keep it simple and just rather than finding a term that is all encompassing or giving definitions, I just describe it. I'll just describe what I'm talking about. I sent you the thing that I saw on Twitter the other day. For those, or for everyone who hasn't seen it, basically it was a screenshot. Someone said, a girl presumably said, if my husband, the day my husband asks me to do halves on the rent, so basically to split the rent in halves, is the day I'm packing my bags. And then someone responded to that saying, and go where, bruv? You can't even afford half a rent. and it was funny, but then it raised so many questions, well, should you be splitting the rent in half, or what? Is she alright to expect the guy to pay for it, or should the girl pay for it, or basically how do you even handle that? And then that was a whole avalanche of thoughts, because this whole issue of equal treatment, or same treatment, or fair treatment, and all of that. It just expands because it goes not just into finances, but generally in any topic, any area of a relationship or marriage. And then if you want to, you can expand it even further. You can talk about class. You can talk about gender in general. You can talk about ability. You can talk about so many things that people use to divide themselves or group themselves. And equality or equal treatment or fair treatment is a part of that, and there's a need for it. But then oftentimes there's a confusion, which is why I think you're asking about definitions. Many times people say, okay, we are okay with equal treatment, but what they're actually saying is we're okay to treat you the same as we treat us, right? And now this can be on an individual level, on a group level. So
I treat you. I expect you to treat me the way that I treat you.
Yeah. Which is same treatment, right? But then that is crazy because we have so many differences. So how do you expect to be treat someone the same when they are different to you on so many levels?
Yeah.
So you have to treat them differently. But does that mean you're no longer treating them equally? Or not, because I've had this conversation so many times, especially with guys, and especially back home. I was born in Serbia, but my family is from Macedonia, which is just south from Serbia, and we spent some time living in both countries. The cultures are fairly similar. It's a very, very male-based culture, right? So I've had these conversations with boys, with guys, who didn't quite take the time to educate themselves or to inform themselves about what is this whole thing about gender equality, etc., or what is feminism. Like it's become, to them, it's like it's a bad word,
Yeah.
They don't know what it means. And then they would say some ignorant things like, well, you wanted equal treatment, there you go, equal treatment means you should be able to do everything a man does and just, put up with it, and that's it. Or like, yeah, you want equal treatment when we work at, I don't know, a construction site, and I don't know, I can lift, because this guy was a builder, he said, I can lift a 50-kilo sack of cement. So if she wants equal treatment, she wants the same pay as me, she needs to be able to lift a sack of cement. And I'm like, where do I even start, trying to explain that equal treatment is not the same as same treatment. You need to treat someone proportionate to their abilities, proportionate to their
needs,
capabilities, needs.
Yeah.
You need to take into account all their advantages or disadvantages, all their privileges or lack thereof, and then adjust the treatment so that in effect you are giving them equal access, not giving them equal treatment, because equal treatment can result in unequal access. Does that make sense?
This is interesting because there are some couples that I have observed, and I can relate to my own marriage as well, in that some couples, one person is always doing more than the other. Now, there's no doubt that in a classic setup, a woman who is looking after the home, this traditional setup, a woman looking after the home. Now, and
sorry, go on.
You're good, yeah. A woman who's looking after the home and managing a child or two, it's a different type of work than lifting bags of cement. In my opinion, it's harder. At least mentally, but even to a degree, physically, it's challenging. And so then he goes to work. He brings home money. Great, he pays the bills. Great. But the work they do is completely different. And in my opinion, the woman has it a little bit harder. Right? Now, that's not fair. And that's not equal. Then sometimes even in my marriage, at various points, say through illness or through maternity, paternity, through maybe areas of depression or lack of motivation, financial constraint, one of us has had to carry more of the load. And that is not, there is not equality there. What do you think?
Listen, I mean, this needs to start, I think thinking about this needs to start way back. It needs to start when people started thinking about division of labor and started thinking about how we're going to organize life, etc. And some things, they don't even need that much thinking. They were quite obvious, If there is a lot of physical work that needs to be done, and if the guy naturally is physically stronger or more capable, then it was a no-brainer. He will do that work, and that is it. So whatever work is left, that is not so physically intense, the woman would do that. That's how they used to live in the villages. In many places, they still do live like that, and they don't have conversations about how we're going to organize life, because it's very straightforward. It's very simple, right? You organize life based on your capabilities. Everyone does what they're good at or what they can do, and that's it. And even children, children are not spared. Like, the moment they're able to work and get involved, they work and they get involved, and it's as simple as that. But then we've moved into cities. We've organized life differently. You are no longer working. Yeah, you're no longer working on your own field or in your own garden or trying to feed your own family. In that direct sense, you're working for money, which you then use to buy whatever else you need. So now there's that one level of separation from providing for your family, all right? Because everyone is involved in providing for the family when you're living together in a rural setting. Everyone is providing. It's not just the guy who's providing. Everyone's providing, because if the woman doesn't cook the food, no one will eat. you know, and if the guy doesn't go and plant and harvest the food, again, no one will eat. So everyone's involved in that process. But now all of a sudden we've moved in situations where, you know, we've organized life differently. We've introduced money, you know, and depending on the system you're living in, unfortunately, I think the capitalist one is probably one of the worst ones. But, you know, in that system, you work, you get money, and then you use that money to buy whatever you need. In that system now, the guy is seen as the one that necessarily goes out of the house. So whatever he's doing it outside somewhere. He's doing it for 8 hours or however long, and then he's coming back. But that's the thing, he's doing it for 8 hours. He's carrying cement for 8 hours or whatever he's doing, and then he's coming home. He's not carrying the cement back home. The woman, on the other hand,
continues.
She's there from morning till evening, you know, because there's always something to do. You need to take care of the kids, you need to feed them, you need to cook, you need to clean, you need to wash, it never ends, it's continuous. So there is no fairness or equality in the absolute sense, you know, they're not given equal tasks. But then for a long time people didn't complain about this, because there was this perception that it's still proportionate, it's still fair, this division is still fair. But then jobs started becoming more and more abstract, right? So no longer are you, I mean, obviously some people are still carrying cement, nothing wrong with that. We wouldn't be having houses if it weren't for those people. And right now they're still considered key workers. Construction is still going on, so God bless them and keep them safe. I have the most respect for people who are using their body to get things done. I have all the respect for that. But then jobs have become more abstract. So all of a sudden now your job is to sit at a computer in an office and look at spreadsheets all day. That is not a job that requires a male physique in order to be done, right? And I'm sorry to break it down for some people, but it doesn't require male intelligence either. You know, it can be done by any human who is, you know, intelligent enough to understand what's going on the screen. So then how do you divide labor now, when the jobs that we're doing outside of the house are equally doable by both men and women? How do you divide labor? And how do you decide what's fair or what's equal, what's proportionate? Especially in a situation now when women are still not to the extent that they should probably, but they are getting more and more educated as well. In some places, I don't know about this country, but in my country, it's come to the point where more people studying are women than men. You know, guys are less ambitious academically. So we've come to a point where, you know, there's a whole generation where naturally, if we're looking at people's capabilities and only that, we've come to a stage where naturally the women are the one more capable to lead because they're just more educated. You know, so does that mean we need to flip the roles? Well, you know, if you start with the whole history where we did start, you know, it would make sense. You divide labor based on your capabilities. So then, yeah, if the woman is more educated, she should be the one dealing with the spreadsheet and making big decisions that have influence on people's lives and businesses and, you know, the economy. And the guy who's less educated should sit at home and take care of the kids. I mean, that would be the natural thinking.
But you're challenging culture now. And culture is an immensely powerful force. And don't get me wrong, speaking to you as someone who's reasonably postmodern, I'm happy with the traditional way of thinking because it's comfortable for me. It's what I saw growing up. And with what you're saying, it sounds like, I could be wrong, but it sounds like, well, if we're going to go by what the needs are and what the abilities are, then we could challenge and say, well, let's change the roles up a bit. To be honest with you, though, when I first got married, sorry to cut you, bro. Sorry to cut you.
No, please. We're talking.
When I first got married, we were both working. Then the situations arise and I had to stop working. And then my wife has been the main breadwinner on and off for a number of years. We've been together, what, 20 years now. So it's married for 19 this year coming up to, and we will be on lockdown on our anniversary, bro.
Oh no.
But she's been the main breadwinner for that time, for a lot of the time. Whilst I chose to look after the kids because she had the earning power. And you know, if you go into childcare, then there's no point in working, right? Yeah. And so we're in the process. We're just about to change all of that. More kids. Who said more kids? Who's encouraging more kids? Who's she talking to? She's talking to me. That can't happen. I got 3. No prophecies, please.
Well, you have the time now. Now that you lockdown, you have the time.
I do have the time.
My wife's laughing.
She needs to join this conversation. She's got a voice now.
Join us. Hello.
Lockdown is going to get a lot of people in trouble. I'm telling you. So in my subconscious, which has a great influence on us, I'm thinking, why do I feel this way? And that's because circumstances are challenging my reality. Nita said yes. What did she say? See, I don't like prophets, you know. And so I appreciate that reality in our country, in our time, knocks on the door and says, hello, I don't care what you're thinking, this is it. Maybe the wife has got the greater earning power. And I think that we're seeing a lot more of this in the West Indian community because black women study and they do quite well in education, whereas black men don't tend to go, Caribbeans don't tend to go that far in this country. So there's a major, and it's happened in America quite heavily. And so there's a major disrupt in expectations of what we need to do. Does she still look after or do classically womanly things whilst I've got my job and she's working as well? And so we're being challenged heavily right now.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what, in certain places, certain countries, certain communities, cultures have responded to this in different ways. I spoke to a friend of mine, so he's from the Balkans. He comes from a very patriarchal society, right? But he married a Scandinavian woman who is, you know, the opposite end of the spectrum, and they live in Scandinavia now. And he was telling me, like, they have provisions. The country has made provisions so that when you go on maternity leave, they don't call it maternity leave, they call it something else. But when you go on leave, the leave can be shared between the man and the wife. Like, and I'm like, that's brilliant, because that is so practical, that is so needed, it's so straightforward. For me, that's just normal and straightforward. But some people that I've spoken to don't see it that way. They see, like, well, does that mean that we are abandoning the way that we've been doing family for thousands of years? Because, you know, there is some kind of order. And this is the thing. The older something is, some kind of practice or custom or something, it seems to have this aura of sacredness around it. Right? And because the thinking is, as far as we can, when you look into history, as far as you can back into history, you see the same pattern, the same model. Must be something about that model that is superior then, because that's what we've been doing for thousands of years, right? I mean, I will just ask those people then, why are you buying toilet paper? Because for thousands of years, we haven't had toilet paper.
Yeah.
And we had other ways. So there must be something superior about the ways we used to wipe our behinds back in the days, since that's how we used to do it, you know. So I don't believe, I absolutely outright, and I might get in trouble for saying this, but I don't believe that there's any type of inherent or even God-given, you know, way a family needs to be organized. There's no such thing.
That goes against the grain of a lot of thinking in Christianity.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, I might be stuck at this petrol station for a while for saying this, but you know, you can't convince me otherwise. You know,
there's too much diversity in history. Sorry? There's too much diversity on the planet, and there's too much diversity in history to conclude. And this is to go along with your point, to conclude that there is one way. different circumstances, different needs.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
No, and this is the thing. God gave everyone certain gifts, right? Everyone has been blessed with certain capabilities, certain abilities, certain talent, etc.
Yeah.
And those talents don't always follow gender lines, or should I say sex lines, because it makes sense sometimes to differentiate between the two, because one is biological and one is something we've created. And so those capabilities don't follow sex lines. They fall where God wants them to fall. And it could so happen that, you know, one has the talent of, that, you know, historically we've been hearing this narrative, you know, women have this natural tendency to be more caring, more nurturing, etc. And then while the men have this tendency to be more ambitious and conquering, etc. And I mean, I've seen this many times. This is just not the case. I mean, in my marriage, let's just be completely real. I have zero. When God was sharing the talents, and when He was sharing talents for, you know, managing finances and business, He skipped me, bro. Like, I have no
Completely.
clue how to manage money. Like, I'm terrible.
You know how
But
to
my
spend it.
wife,
You know how to spend it, right?
oh yeah, trust me. Like, I'm just not. I don't have that talent, and obviously some of it can be explained by upbringing and different situations, etc., etc., and culture as well. Like, male babies, right? Boys, sons. We are super protected in the Balkan and other Mediterranean cultures. We are literally an endangered species, and we are super protected. Everything's done for us. We're not expected to provide for ourselves as much as maybe in other places.
Yeah.
Whereas here in the West, like, kids start working at a way earlier stage. They leave the house earlier. You know, they have to be more
Yeah.
independent. So my wife grew up here. She was born in Ivory Coast, but she grew up here, and she has that mentality. You need to care for yourself, right? And I think she also has a gift on top of that, because she's amazing with finances. She has never been broke, and she never will. And you know, that's just, she has that gift. So going back to what you were saying, so someone would then come and say, no, I have been called and ordained by God to what?
To
To take care of the family finances. God help my family then, because we'll be hungry. You know, that's definitely not the case. Like, it's clearly not the case. Now, obviously, I can and I should try to improve, like I should try in any area in life, really, to improve and become better and learn, expand and grow. Absolutely. But I just know that in that aspect of our life, I am not the leader, and I cannot be the leader. Like, I have to be the follower and try and help and support, because I don't have that talent. Now, I have other talents. I'm not going to be trying to be falsely, you know, modest. I have many other talents where I naturally feel like I should take the lead because I'm better at that.
so
As
so
long
can
as that,
so can we talk about that? What
yeah,
how have you what if you don't mind, your role, your differences in the way you do things in your marriage? What does she do more? What do you do more? How does it work in yours?
right. So a lot of it has to do with availability and who is available. Like, even simple things, you know, the everyday things, like who's gonna clean, who's gonna cook, who's gonna wash, well, whoever has the time. You know, we have, before the lockdown, we had a very different, you know, time schedule. My rota changes every week. I do some really early shifts that start at 5 in the morning. I do some really late shifts that finish at 11 in the evening. And she has pretty steady shifts, you know, more or less 9 to 5 every day. So we work around that. Whoever is, if we know that something needs to be done, whoever gets around doing it first, that's the person that does it. And we don't really keep tabs on you know, who did it, or you know, whose turn is it to do it. Some people need to do that. I know marriages that need to do that, because otherwise one side feels like they always end up, you know, having the what's it called, the short end of the stick, or whatever the expression is.
But that hasn't appeared in your marriage because
So far it hasn't. Like, so far we've been able to just, you know, play it by ear, and whoever is available does it. Now, sometimes, if we want to be honest, you know when it's your turn and you've been avoiding it. like you can feel it. I'm not gonna lie, there have been situations where I know I see the washing that needs to be done, but you know, I come up with some kind of, and vice versa, you know, she sees the dishes, but you know, there's something else, and then I do. It doesn't matter, like that's normal. I think that's something that is normal, and we
it's a very short term thing.
Exactly, we find joy in it. She's giving us eyes now. We joke about it.
Is that your lady? Miss?
Okay, that's her. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. She's
So,
sending you a message.
We make a joke out of it, and that's it. But then when it comes to other things, for example, like she has, when we're talking about gifts, etc., and you know, talent, she doesn't like confrontations at all. Like she doesn't like confrontations, fights. She doesn't like asking for things. She doesn't like you know, asking for favors. She doesn't like asking for what's hers. She finds that super difficult. I have no problems. I like a confrontation. Like I'm looking forward for one. That's entertainment for me, bro. Like I like a fight. Sometimes, you know, with some of my friends who are similar, we would go into a fight over. When I say fight, I don't mean like physical. Like we would go into a discussion, a heated debate and discussion over some nonsense, but whether a certain rule in Serbian grammar should be changed or not. And we would go into a heated discussion, and we're enjoying it because you know you let some energy out, and you sharpen. We call it sharpening your brain, right? Because you see the argument from one side and from the other, and it's just. And it's fun and games in the end.
This is me, by the way.
You know, yeah, I love that. She hates it. She can't stand it. You know, so whenever something like that is needed, you know, she either asks for my support or just lets me do it. But it's difficult because sometimes I can't do it because he has to do it, I don't know, her workplace or her friends or family. So I can't get involved. So then I have to, you know, try and see if I can, you know, give some ideas how to pick a fight. You know, I mean, not pick a fight, but you know, stand for what's right and defend a certain position. So I mean, those are just some examples. But you know, so far, this is the thing. Like, I can't begin to imagine what this conversation will be like 20 years from now. It might be the same, might be vastly different. I don't know. But so far, we've been able to recognize and just be aware, both of us be aware of what we're both good at and what we're not, and just let the other person, you know, help or support you when you need.
This is powerful to hear, because I think that what you are doing is removing some of the bumps on the road a lot earlier that will appear later on. For example, like I'm all about dealing with things in advance. I don't like to be caught unawares or caught out by conflict or looming conflict. If I see something that's coming, I will deal with it early. And what I, like yourself, thank God, I mean, I think you're a great man for this. And I think great minds think alike, you know? in that we just have to make this work. I'm never going to allow you to do everything.
Was that a cough?
No, it was clearing my throat, actually.
Okay. Okay, just asking, you know.
No, you have to ask. But I'm on lockdown anyway, so.
Yeah, you're safe.
I'm safe. I can cough in my house now. So, I would never let Juanita just be stuck in a rut of behavior. I want her to grow. I don't like to see someone suffering unnecessarily. I wouldn't allow my partner to do all of the housework. I mean, I can come home from a long day of whatever and I will still help. Believe me, I'm tired. And there are times when I don't. And I don't care what happens. I don't care if the clothes want to pile up to the sky. I'm tired. That's a decision I make to preserve myself, you know what I mean? But I will never do that to allow it to her to bear a particular type of burden like that by herself. That doesn't make me the perfect husband. It just means I don't let her do that by herself. I don't actually mind helping. and I also allow my children to see what they need to see for their future.
You see, this is go on.
No, you go ahead.
This is where we are in a kind of a beautiful situation right now, because we don't have children yet.
Yeah.
And therefore we can get away with doing certain things that we probably wouldn't be able to do if there was children around, because it would be a bad example, you know. So we're kind of, for example, like I don't know, we finished lunch, yeah, and just a simple example, we finished lunch and we just dumped the dishes in the sink, yeah. We can get away with coming back to these dishes a few hours later.
Oh yeah.
I can't do that with kids, because I'll be teaching them really bad things. I'll be teaching them bad habits. You know, I need to be there showing them how it's done, especially if I have boys.
Okay.
You know,
I hear you.
If I want them to continue in this way of thinking, in this approach to life, to marriage, to relationships, and just anything, literally teaching them responsibilities, I need to be there in the front line, showing them how it's done. And you know, so right now this is perfect, because we can do whatever, and as long as we agree or are okay with it, we can get away with it. But you know, having kids,
particularly boys, man.
Sorry?
Particularly boys.
Yeah, I imagine that it will be like that with boys. Yeah. So we'll see. I'm enjoying this way too much now. We'll see how it goes.
Enjoy, bro. Enjoy. One of the things that Juanito and I do, and I mention it as often as possible, as I mention it often, I should say, is that my attitude, someone is writing in a language I don't understand, please interpret. Can you read it, bro?
Yeah, it's one of my friends. He's saying, "Ja glasam za ljubav, riskiram zbog nje," which is, it's the literal translation is, I vote for love and I risk for its sake. I risk for it. But it's a quote. It's a line from a song.
What does it mean?
Like I said, I vote for love and I'm risking for love. I'm taking risks for love. But it's a quote for a song. Respect. And it's a song that we both know, and that many of the people in our part of the world will know, by this very famous musician called Jay. He's a bit of a superstar there. And but he's just making a reference to some of our past fun times together. He's just being silly, basically. That's all.
No.
But since we're talking about love, he's just dropping that reference, I suppose.
Dr. Predrag?
Yeah, his name is Predrag, and he's a dentist. So he styles himself as doctor. He wishes.
You two sound like friends.
Yeah, we're good friends, man. We go way back.
One of the things that we do is, for me, I don't argue over money per se. There is no my money. It's always ours. And even if she had the mindset of separating our finances, as far as I'm concerned, all of it is ours. And if she had that mindset opposite to that, my ministry would be to develop our mentality as opposed to his and hers mentality. Why am I doing that? I'm negating any possibility of conflict in the future. And I'm also trying to develop unity. And so my care for that level, I mean, I don't feel any less independent because I don't represent my income. So if I put all my money on the table, for example, I still feel independent. I don't feel like I am not an individual because I don't do that. And I do that to safeguard our unity. I'm saying more. I'm saying that my priority is unity. And that means inequality. Because to create it means that she will have to do more at times, or I will have to do more at times, and there is no date by which that ends. Do you know what I mean? So it means that God has said, right, here's your partner. And what God didn't say, but it could turn out to be the only way to success, is that you're both carrying this heavy log. but you are carrying the heavier end, and it could be forever. So that's really what I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with the fact that if I want peace and unity, I may have to consider doing more than the other person just to make this work.
Yeah, yeah. And this is the thing, like, this is the thing. That's actual equal treatment. Equal treatment is not same treatment. Equal treatment means you burden yourself proportionately to your capabilities, to your abilities, to your situations in life, to your privilege, to, you know, to whatever. So if you have been, or she has been given with a certain set of cards, you know, she's been dealt a different set than you, then she has different responsibilities, and she has, and it's right to have different expectations based on what you've been dealt in life, you know. So I don't see a problem with that at all. Because literally sometimes the way to achieve equality is precisely to treat each other very differently, you know, because we just have different needs. So yeah, if I fully agree with what you're saying, and unity and what's the uniformity is not the same thing, you know. Unity is a matter of yeah, unity is a matter of decision and choice. Uniformity is just trying to fit everything in the same mold, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So all I'm interested in is that this division, you know, this unequal but equal division doesn't become unfair for someone, or doesn't become, you know, distorted over time. And I can see how in some relationships, if it's not constantly discussed and constantly revisited, you know, a certain agreement that we've had at a certain time in our lives might not be the best fit for a later time because our circumstances have changed, right? So just because we've done that a certain way for years, doesn't mean we should continue doing it like that, because our circumstances might have changed. So revisiting this and negotiating, literally negotiating how we do life constantly, I think that's what's needed. I wanted to talk about what you said about, you know, there's no your money and my money, because that's foreign to me.
Pause it. Now this live ends in a few minutes. So what I'm gonna do before you are, it ends in an hour. It ends after an hour. So guys, just before have asked us an intense question about money and marriage, right? We're going to end this live and start again literally in about 10 seconds. So guys, get ready to join us again. Pav, I'll see you in 1 second.
Yeah,
and
sure,
then
sure.
we'll hook this up again. Thanks, guys. Here we go. So part 2. It's coming. It's coming. Hold on. We're telling more followers to join. Thank you guys for joining us again. We got round 2 coming up. And Pav is going to ask us. How you doing? Thanks for coming back in. You're making a special guy. How you doing, sir?
Is this the actual live now, the second part?
We're in round 2.
There we go.
So you had a question?
Yeah. Like you said, because okay, all right. You said there's you don't agree with your money, my money. It's all our money, right?
Yeah.
That is foreign to me, and this is why it's okay.
And that's, sorry, I said that not to judge other people. I do that for me.
Yeah. All right. So yeah. I'll tell you why that's foreign to me, and then I'll ask you questions.
Yeah.
So the way we do it is, I have my money, she has her money, and then we have our money.
Yeah.
So we've set up a list of things that are common, right? So things that have to do with rent, a house, food, bills, you know, whatever, like all of the things that we both contribute to, and we both use. We've put it on a list, and we've made a pot where we both contribute, and that is our money. right?
Yeah.
But then we both have our separate monies.
Yeah.
And that functions and it's great and I'm happy with it. I would recommend it, that system, to everyone. But then I understand, I can see where the beauty of unity is if you just keep one pot like you do. But I just can't see that working for me. Because imagine this. Imagine we only have one pot and it's all our money. And then I need new shoes, right? I could never go for the shoes I want because I would feel like I'm abusing the joint account. So I would walk around, I would have my toes sticking out my shoes, yeah, and I would buy the cheapest thing in Primark or wherever, just so I don't feel bad for burdening the family, right? Because if it's all one pot, we might need it for her, we might need it for the kids, we might need it for, I don't know, lockdown, coronavirus, or some other post-apocalyptic scenario. So how dare I, buy myself nice shoes? She might not feel that way, especially when it comes to shoes. She might feel it's completely justified to dip into, I don't know. But so I just feel like having some kind of, having an account or some kind of corner of the money pot that is yours and that you don't have to worry about how you're going to spend it because you're not affecting the well-being of the family.
Yeah.
I think that there's a merit to it. But tell me what do you think about that? How does that work for you?
Yeah, and again, this isn't about being against people. Okay, discussion and working together is best to become one. Yeah, and that's a very still, thank you for that. Was it Bricks? Bricks Kids? That is a very broad statement. And so what I'll do is I'll define where I'm coming from. This isn't about being against people with individual accounts. This is me and my attitude to money. For example, if Juanita was always short on, if we had our own accounts, what's she saying? It was similar to...
Your wife is saying it was similar to Pavle at one time until the kids came.
Bro.
I'm telling you, kids, do you want to join us?
Join us!
She wants to join us.
Yeah, man.
Let me just disconnect my earphones.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Hello.
Sis.
Hi.
Sis.
I was following, it's just rather behind, it's lagging. So
I know. I was watching your commentary and I was laughing really. As you and another lady there taking the mic.
Yeah, she ganged up with her friend.
Yeah. So what I was saying was that I don't have a problem with people having their own accounts, but if my wife, I know a couple. I can get. Is there feedback? There's feedback.
Is that feedback? I'll lower my volume.
Yeah.
Is it better now?
Let me see. Testing 1, 2.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Still feedback.
Still feedback.
You can put the headphones in your chair if you want.
Yeah, they're Bluetooth, so let me connect them again.
connect them off from here.
Oh, she's gone. She's not sticking around. Okay, no problem. Yeah.
No.
Can you hear me?
Talking about the beauty of sharing.
Oh, she's there. Hey, wave to me if you can hear me. Lovely.
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
So what happens is that I know of some couples who have to lend each other money.
Mm-hmm.
And in my perception, that is a major division in mindset about what marriage is. That personally concerns me. And it's a very personal thing in the sense that, you want to join? In the sense that everything I have is ours. Do you know what I mean? Everything I have is ours. So if one is was short £100 every month, I'm giving it to her. It's not like she's borrowing it. It's not a debt. And it wasn't until about like 6, 7 years ago, I recognized that was my first realization that couples do that sometimes. It's a shock to me. So
where couples have said he ain't got no money.
Yeah. Let me move this back up.
Where there's never he ain't got no money. It's we ain't got no money. So I find that we find that really shocking because we started off like you had good old Adventist counselling, central account, and then you had your own. As I said, when the kids came, that gets dried up. It's all one. Do you know what I mean?
It becomes bigger.
Yeah.
Then where maybe there was no maternity pay, and then one of us was working, and so it's like it's just money.
Yeah. But the principle is that what you're saying is that it's our money. It's not his. It's not mine. It's ours. And if there's no money, we're broke. And if there's money, we've got money. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, makes sense.
But and there was no judgment on any other method. But again, the point for me is whatever it takes to kind of bring a oneness. It's just one less thing to think about. You know, if Juanita had £10,000 worth of debt, it's our debt. In fact, I think when we got married, I had about £3,000 of debt on a course. And it just wasn't ever an issue. But that's one of our strengths, to be honest. We just don't have an issue with money.
So you coughing as well?
Nah, clearing the throat just like him. I just took lemon, ginger, turmeric, orange peel.
Did you find it on WhatsApp?
Everything. I steamed with it and I drank it. And it's in your inbox now.
Oh Lord.
Like,
but I love that even now, because people are just looking at me like, and I'm just like, it's quite natural to cough.
It is.
No, it's a sin. It's now a sin.
Yeah. I get what you mean though, and we've had situations, and Roberto can confirm that we've had situations where I would start worrying. You know, I would look at the numbers coming in and the numbers that are meant to come out, and I'm like, ooh, that doesn't add up, and I'll start worrying because I'm only looking at myself and I'm not thinking about us. I'm just like, and then she would kind of bring me back to reality and be like, but no, wait, like you don't have to worry. My programming, my Balkan programming kicks in. I'm like, yes, I do have to worry.
Because he's used to doing it by himself, when he has his funds. Like, okay, well, this is fine.
Like I can't rely on a woman. Like that. How can you can't do that. That's a no-go. That means you failed as a man if you have to rely. But then it just lasts for a while, and then I realize I have to let it go. It doesn't matter how wrong it feels. I have to let it go because it's just a broken way of thinking, a way of thinking that is a result of a history that is completely different to the reality we live in today. I have to let go of that. So yeah, I get what you mean about there's no your debt or you being short, but it's just both of you being short.
But you know what? Sorry, go ahead, sis. Go ahead.
No, and this is it with the different accounts. I remember when we first started dating. This was years ago. I remember we went to a restaurant. A couple of our friends, I think Vivi was there, and like we had this huge argument. And I remember this about the finances. How does it work? Whether we should both have the same accounts or different accounts. It actually got really dramatic because I think there's a bunch of us young people. This is probably 4 years back or something like that, and Pavle wasn't happy because I think for me I was like, yeah, well, my money should be in my account and da da da, and I was very minded like that because I think my parents have sharing account. Not that I disagree, but me and my sister, we actually laugh at mum once in a while because examples that Pavle just used, like dad would decide, oh, I'm going to go buy myself some shoes. And mum doesn't do that. Mum is not she'll go out and she'll think, oh, well, if I do this, then someone's going to need this or someone's going to need that. So I think sometimes you have a couple, one person within the couple is very conscious of everything and everyone else. Not that I'm saying that the other person isn't. I'm not saying dad isn't. But sometimes you think, okay, well, I'm going to buy myself a new suit. And yeah, you'll see new suits. You see a lot of new suits in the cupboard. But you don't see that many new dresses. You'll probably see a new dress like once a year or like special occasions.
Yeah.
And I'm sure suits cost more than dresses. I'm really sorry. Like, so,
I don't know.
So I've so I've grown up with that. I've had that. I've had those experiences, and I think for me, I've always said, okay, well, I don't mind sharing an account. I don't mind everything going into one. We both work, and I think it can work like this. I think and I think even with talking with Pavle, I know that my parents say everything goes into one account, and then they then divide. They pay for their bills, and then what's there is there. What's there is useful, whatsoever else. And for me, I understand. I do understand that, but I think with how much, and this is why we have a spreadsheet, and I've even before Mariam Pavle, I have spreadsheets. You see my spreadsheets. I have spreadsheets. Like
I'm telling you, man.
Every month,
I'm
see
telling
what's
you.
coming out.
Yeah.
You see how much I've got left. You see how much I've got to spend on my food. Then you have extra money that I want to do this.
Yeah.
There's like a buffer. And to be honest, I think I've spoken with Pablo about this. Everyone knows if I start saying, oh, I don't have any money, it's because I've got £400. I'm under 400. I'm crazy. I'm absolute mad.
Wow.
But I like to have a buffer because I don't feel safe not having anything. So when it comes to then working together as a couple, we get our amounts, we get paid, he gets paid, I get paid. We've got our not timesheet, but we've got our list. Spreadsheet.
Yeah.
We know what's coming in, we know what's going out. Like, I'm like that, I think, when I go through we go through our balance. And even today, this afternoon, the home insurance thing came in saying that the insurance has gone up. I'm like, Pavle? He says, yes. I'm like, the insurance has gone up.
By 60p.
You're good.
But I had to be informed, and
he had to be informed.
If I don't do it, she'll tell me off for not going into the spreadsheet and changing it, so that it's gone up by 60p.
Yeah, because I think, and this is it. It can, and my thoughts, fine, when children come in, even we've spoken about this, and Pavle says, oh, well, we need to add a little bit more for like baby, I like a baby buffer, just in case. There's no baby, by the way. We're just, it's good to
ahead. We're planning
ahead. Prepared. You never know. You never
Lockdown.
Exactly. Pavle came to you and was like, do you know how much you spend on children? But like, I think as long as you know what's coming in, and this is it, and if something comes in, there's a bill, there's there's actually know what you're spending on. I think it's like anything. It's like a normal business. Like if you have a business, if you have a company, you have to take these into account. And fine, when you have children, they're unpredictable as well. But we can have a rough idea. Okay, well, for this month, we know that we're spending about £80, £100, let's say every 2 weeks on food because the children are eating too much.
Yeah.
Too much. They're eating a lot.
Too much.
That means that's not eating too much. Eating too much is £300 a month.
Exactly.
A month,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, that's eating too much. Yeah.
For us, we don't.
So they eat and
miscellaneous budget gone. See?
Exactly. Exactly.
The extra £400.
The extra £400 is gone.
And you fretting. You get me?
Exactly.
We just live with it, and we're just like,
it's gone.
The kids are here.
But you know what's really important as well? And
it's not free.
Good.
I was just gonna say, what's really important is in all of this, it's important to understand that. Okay, so a bit of history at that table when we had that heated discussion. Yeah, I was of a different mindset then. I was a firm believer in just one account. Everything goes. We are one. We share everything, and everyone puts in the one pot. and that's it. Like there's no discussion around it. That
She's
was
coming back.
and then the whole table, just for clarity, the whole table was young black women, right? All of them either in uni or freshly out of uni, all of them feeling very independent, and all of them trying to, start their own lives, etc.
Yeah.
And there you have this one boy that telling them, nah, you should give up all of that and put it in the same pot with your husband.
Yeah.
And then also, it shouldn't be ignored that the backgrounds that we came from, me and all the girls on that table, were different. The examples that I saw in my environment, the examples they saw in their environment weren't always the same. And you come, when you talk about surrendering your money, in a sense, to a guy, or to a family pot, it just raises different associations and images in your head. But what I think is super important for people to understand is that there is no one way of doing this.
Okay.
And there's no right or wrong way of doing this. Like someone said in the comments, negotiation and discussion. That's literally it.
I think if you can sit down and you can discuss between yourselves, because I think in every relationship with different people have different ways of dealing with different things. So if it's not working, then we will sit down and say, okay, well, Pavle, just like you guys did, it's not working.
Kids
we
are here.
need to find a different way to deal with it.
Yeah.
We either put into the same account, and at the end of it, you split it up. I think and in my head, and maybe it's a Western thing, I think we've come from a background, and also within the Caribbean side, of everyone puts some money into an account, and then the husband, and I don't know how I feel like this, the husband then says, okay, well, I've got this, now here you go, here's your £100 a month to do your shop. And I think I've heard my grandmother talk about stuff like that. Well, money will be coming in, and my grandpa gives her the 100 or whatsoever. And then you then do your shopping, and then out of what's left, you then buy your little your cloths for your children, you sew the clothes, and then whatever's left is what you use for your own stuff. And I think maybe because of due to that, you have a lot of people struggling as females nowadays, because they want it to be fair, they want it to be equal. And fine, maybe it is equal to put it into a balance, but I think if you look at a female do have more expenses than men. I've got to admit it. Like sometimes our clothes cost more. Cost more.
Wait, you said suits are more expensive than dresses.
Suits, but we're not talking.
This is a one-off, isn't it?
Talking about normal dresses. Like clothes are more expensive. Shoes are expensive. Like I've got to do my hair. Unless, fine, thank God I can do my own hair. Yeah. I still have to buy stuff to do my own hair. Like they're different things. You pay how much to do your hair? You pay £9, £11.
Well, it's going to be free now because you've got right?
I'm going to the cheapest barber in town, bro.
£11 for his hair. Whereby for me, if I'm to go,
well, you still need to do it every 2 weeks if you want to stay fresh.
Okay, well, £22. If I go get my hair done every month, that's about 100.
Yeah.
100. If I'm going to get a nice hairstyle, that's a month. It's expensive. So then I think then with that, you're like, okay, you put money into a budget, but then if you're doing it that way, what's left for you if it's all divided like that? You actually need someone that thinks. You need a husband that can think, okay, well, you know what? Yeah, my wife needs to have her hair done. She needs a dress, maybe a new dress every month, a new pair of shoes. Okay, maybe you go. This is here's a £400 for you for your sanitary stuff, for your makeup, for your hair, for your shoes, for your clothes. Yeah.
You'll need, I mean, ideally, the system that you got is what we started off with. And we would love to go back to that system.
I don't know who Bricks Kids is, but they give me a laugh, man.
Go bold. It pays bro, I'm telling you, it's the way.
Who are you talking to, Bricks Kids? Are you talking to me or to my wife?
To you. Oh, yeah, that's funny. That's funny.
I wanted to go board in the lockdown, you know. I said, if I can't get to the head, what am I going to do? The clippers is there. I'll just shave it down and just be living in the bunker, you know what I mean?
Come
That's
on.
what it is.
Vivi, £400 isn't too much. I know girls that spend like so much money.
But can I say something maybe controversial? Or maybe not, we'll see. Just like we said earlier, you know, everything's about negotiation and it can change. from situation to situation. You can change from season to season depending on what your circumstances are. We need to both, you know, I think we need to both be sensitive to that and make adjustments. Like if, and let me try and stir some trouble here. Like if you're used to not buying clothes to mix and match, but buying complete outfits and then wearing them once and then saying that you have nothing to wear because this one is still in recent memory, and you know, so you have to buy another outfit and then another outfit until, you know, if you're used to doing that, that's brilliant. Like I wish I could dress like that. I mean, I'm working towards that. I want to be doing that in my life because it's wonderful, you know, to just be so in tune with fashion and so aware of
it's called fresh to death.
But you know what? But at some point you need to ask yourself, well, listen, if the circumstances aren't allowing it, I might need to start doing different, just buying basics, mixing, matching, and, you know, like put a scarf on and there you go, that's a different outfit. Like, do you know what I mean? Like because us guys, and I'm not being funny here, us guys, we've been doing that. We've been doing that. Like growing up, I don't buy an outfit. I buy trousers with the thinking, how many shirts can I fit this with? You know, so if you need to change the way you're approaching the maintenance costs, so to speak. I'm not saying you should. Listen, I wish all women in the world, all wives in the world, can afford to look their best. Yes, please, because then we benefit from that as well. So don't get me wrong. But if the circumstances are changing, then everything needs to be negotiated, and that is susceptible to negotiation.
It's true. I don't. It's true. I don't disagree. But you would do that. But when your mother would go shopping for you before you had money issues, she'd buy you a whole suit, right?
No. Growing up, this was always like,
maybe it's different culturally, because I know. Okay, let's talk about my family, or like if you're going shopping, you buy a full suit. Like if you got children, fine, you do a mix and match, but you buy a full set because it's good to have a full set, and then you can mix that with whatsoever else. But you said that, and I agree with you. I do agree 100%. Or you just find a wife that can get rid of her clothes and earn money on top of it.
This is it. Like me.
Exactly.
Yeah. Seems like I got the jackpot here, the full package. But you know, we're trying to. Ideally, the idea is that, you know, someone watching or listening to this can you know, take something home, and you know, if I would suggest that everything about how we live life together, everything, including you know, which toothpaste we buy, and do we shop for outfits or for mix and matching, or even what we eat, or, you know, everything is and should be negotiable.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I just want to say, I wanted to say this about 10 minutes ago, that you guys are a really good example of a young marriage that is on the right track. And that is my standard. That is our standard, I guess. It's not necessarily, I can't speak for everybody, but I say that in the sense that you have demonstrated that you just need to work it out. And you're a good example of being very different, having different approaches to life and using those as strengths. And Pav's come an interesting journey in that. This is my summarizing of your life in regard to this, in that you come from a very male-dominated society, and
both of us.
You both have, and
the African side.
Yeah, so I didn't really know your side, but you come from a male-dominated society as a man, and you haven't placed unnecessary expectations. Not that they probably don't come up, but you guys seem to be on a track of working it out where you are and not trying to transpose old ways into a new situation.
But it hasn't been easy, I can tell you that.
Right.
Like we got divorced before we got married.
Yeah.
You know, so we were dating, and then we stopped, and then we were enemies until we started talking again, and then started dating again, and then got engaged and then got married. But
this was very hard.
yeah. So all these differences that you mentioned, like it's not like we came and we're like, oh wow, it's so wonderful, we're so different, let's work it out. No, we came with certain beliefs, certain assumptions about life, and those beliefs are strong. You know, we had endless discussions that were not pleasant, where we were just trying to negotiate, how to, find a middle way, and this is it. It's not always a middle way either. I was having a discussion with one person that is listening to this chat right now, and we were talking about negotiating cultures and cultural differences, and it's not always about meeting each other halfway. That's not reasonable always. Remember we said equal treatment and same treatment is not the same. Like we live right now, we live in the UK, right? Most of our family and friends are actually Rebeto's family and friends.
Okay.
Right? Because they're just in the numbers. They're in the majority here. I have some friends here who were my friends before I moved in. Okay? But they're in the minority. Most of my friends and all of my family live back home between Serbia and Macedonia. So coming here and expecting that this marriage and the way we do things is half-half is unreasonable.
Yeah.
It's unreasonable, because then everyone around us, all of a sudden, against their will and without their consent, needs to adjust to a foreign culture that invaded and took their sister away and now is doing things differently. It's not working. It's unreasonable. So does that mean that I've abandoned my beliefs and my standards and my morals and my culture, especially as a man? Absolutely not. I still believe in some of the things I believe in. Some things I abandoned and reframed and put them to work for our benefit rather than as stumbling blocks.
Yeah.
Some things I have reworked, some things I have abandoned. Yes. And that's normal. That's normal. So because we have decided that the guiding principle is not how much we give up in percentage and then trying to meet halfway so it's fair. No, the guiding principle is that this is functional, pleasant for both, and that it works. So if that's the guiding principle, then we'll do whatever it takes. If it means she fully abandons everything she believes in and she becomes a Macedonian housewife, then so be it. If it means I abandon everything I believe in and I become her, errand boy while she, so be it. Like, we will do what we need to do to make this work. So with that mindset, it was easier. It was easier to negotiate all the differences, etc. But as long as you are expecting sameness rather than equality, as long as you're thinking about equality as same treatment rather than as proportionate treatment, it's not going to work.
So I have a question for you. This needs to go on longer, but hey, we've got so much time. I thank you so much for your time, but I've got one more question for you. It is, each one of you give your number one tip for either a relationship, marriage, engagement, singleness, whatever angle you want to approach it. Give your number one tip for any of those positions.
Choose one. For all?
Just for one.
I'll tell you what. The most confusing thing I ever heard. Wait, there's a comment. At primary school, you have good friends. When you go to secondary school, you have new ones, and so too at uni when they change. When you go to work and church, and these are all new friends. Yeah. People change and relationships change and friends change, and that's all right. That's a topic that we should talk at some point as well. I think, just how certain people have a role in each other's lives at a certain time, and it's okay to realize that that role has been fulfilled, finished, and it's time to move on. We're not enemies. We're not less friends. We're just we need to move on. But anyways, that's another topic. But I would say the number one thing and the most confusing thing I ever heard when I came to this country, I started studying and I was working with this guy. For context and for disclosure, he's a second generation Caribbean British. He's born here, raised here, but very much in tune with his culture. Yeah, and has a big family, lots of children.
Yeah.
And he told me, and I would ask him. I would ask him for advice. I would bring, my relationship problems to him. I would ask him for opinions. And he told me, and he kept repeating this as a mantra. Every time we spoke, he would say the same thing. He would say, I have two things for you. Don't sweat the small things, and everything is small things. And I was like, what? No, you can't say that, because this is crucial. This is important. This is the fundamental, your building block of marriage. He's like,
yeah,
it's a small thing. Don't sweat the small things. And the more he kept repeating it, the more I got frustrated. But then I started realizing, once we actually got married and I started realizing where he was coming from. Nothing, literally nothing, no topic, nothing deserves to become such a big obstacle that you can't go through it. It doesn't deserve that type of importance, right? So as long as the goal is not to achieve whatever that thing is, as long as the goal is to achieve unity, happiness, and joy in marriage, as long as that is the goal, everything can be seen as a small thing.
Yeah.
And you can stop sweating it. It's a decision, I mean, a more pessimistic way of putting it, and I had this conversation today with a friend of mine, is he said he had some ups and downs in his relationship, and he said, you know what, I realized it was mostly me who was wrong. I'm like, good. As long just keep realizing that, accept that you're wrong. Don't even ask about, just assume that it's your fault and you'll be fine. That's probably a more cynical way of looking at it. But it comes down to the same thing. Just let it go. It doesn't matter who's right, who's wrong.
Yeah.
What matters is how do we feel about it? How are we treating each other once we've had the conversation? Yeah. So who won and who lost doesn't really matter. So don't sweat the small things, and everything is small things.
Yeah.
What? Yes.
Go on.
No, you go. I'm listening.
I think whilst Pavle, I thought about something, and he's basically just touched on it. I would totally agree with him. I remember there used to be times we had a lot of these occasions, but the ones that in my head would be sitting in the car where Pavle was studying in Newbold, and we'd sit in the car and we'd be arguing. We'd argue, and it probably turned 2, 3 in the morning sometimes, and we'd probably have started at 9, 10.
Whoa,
that's a marathon, right?
Backwards and forwards.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Backwards and forwards, and then it gets to a point where one of us, I think sometimes the majority of the time it'd be me, and I'm like, I was tired. You get to that stage and you're drained, you're tired, and you can't do any more. You've gone at it, and you're not going anywhere. Like nothing's breaking, nothing's moving, and I'd say, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this. I can't do this. Like, I don't know what to do. And then you just pause. And I remember this. I'd pause. I'd sit there and I'd close my eyes. I'm tired. And I think, and this is it, in all things, is when you get to that tired bit, and then you get to a point, you're like, okay, well, Pavle, what do we do? I'm like, okay, well, we can fix this. And you get to that point where if you really want it, and that's it, if you really want something, then I think a lot of those times you could have split up from that. But I think when we got to like the end of that road, maybe halfway through that argument, we could have said, okay, well, you know what? Yeah, I'm done arguing with you. 10 minutes later, I'm done. I'm sorry. We're done. No, but we got to the end of it. You're tired. You're frustrated. And you're like, okay, well, you either let go of this, or is your argument bigger than what you have?
Yeah.
Is it bigger than what you have? Like, or the person, and I think a lot of people do stay in arguments like that because they think, okay, it's going to get better. But I think also you also need to be able to identify within the argument is it actually worth arguing for? Like, are you arguing over something that's worth arguing for? Because if it really is a problem and you're arguing about it, then fine, maybe it's not the best thing. But if it is really something stupid, because when you get to a point where you can't actually remember what you're arguing about,
then it's time to stop.
Then it's stupid. And I think sometimes we would argue, and then I'm like, oh,
what's the topic?
Yeah. What was that about?
At a certain point, you're no longer arguing about what started the argument. You're arguing about the last thing they said.
Yes, you're arguing about the last thing because you want to win. You want to be right. Just
like
Bobby said, you want to be like that person on top. And my tip, my word of advice to people, just be like to whomever, relationship, single, couple, would be to, I think, be able to distinguish between something that's worth arguing for and something that's not. Just as Pavle said, there's no point wasting your time. You're wasting time. You're wasting energy. I thought I've missed out on so much sleep. You're wasting time. You're wasting energy because you're arguing for the wrong things. And if there's no points when you have an issue like that, you should look at it and you should think to yourself, okay, well, why am I arguing for this? Am I arguing for this because I want to win this? Is it something that's totally deep to my heart or dear to my heart? Or is it something that I can let by? Because half of the things you argue about, we're here now. And they're not even they're little things. We don't even consider them. We don't even think about it because there weren't even a problem in the first place.
Yeah.
And if I can just add one thing to that.
Yeah.
And that is, in a relationship context, you can do this, and you can get away with it because then you still go your own way, right? But in a marriage, if you make it your priority or your rule that you will never split and go your own way, doesn't matter what, So if you make that your mission, so that even if you can't stand the person, you still have to go into that same bedroom, go into the same bed, and sleep next to them and hug them. You have to do it. If that's a definite must, then you'll find a way. You'll find a way to let go of the thing, or to work it out, or to just realize that it's not a big issue, because this is the biggest issue. You've decided, you've said this before people and before God, you will be together. So as long as you know that there is no exit door available, you will work it out.
That's okay.
As long as you're allowing yourself, not talking, being in separate rooms, then it's a matter of, if you give yourself that finger, you'll take the whole arm. Next thing you know, you spend the night somewhere else, you leave and then before you know it, you're divorced. Like, there's no option of separating each other over anything. You stay together, and then with that mindset, nothing's a big thing. Like, everything will be resolved.
Kurt used to always says, it's the mantra, is that there's no fire exit. So we're going to burn up in here, you know what I mean? We're either going together, but there's no fire exit. So I think with that leading you, then well, I don't want to burn up in here, you know what I mean? Let's make it nice. And I think when that precedes you, then you know that this is it, and we have to fix what we're in because we can't live any other way.
I think sometimes when Pavle and I, we argue, like, even that little things, but even if I'm upset, like, we'll go to bed, my side, he's on his side, and I'm like, where's my cuddle?
Yeah, where's the cuddle?
I'm like, where's my cuddle? I'm like, I was still upset with him. I'm like, where's my cuddle?
No, I will hate you, but I will still cuddle you.
Yeah. Okay.
That's hard for me, man, but hey.
What do you think about that?
Oh no, let me read this comment. Always think about the bigger picture. When there is an argument, it is worth it in the end. Make sure you are not both angry at the same time. How do you do that? Don't let the sun go down on your argument or anger. Yeah, you see that.
Sometimes you have to.
You know what? Sometimes you should let the sun go down because you're fresher in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would wake up. You would actually split.
Yeah.
Divorce and out of this house.
I get the principle. I get the principle. I get the principle of it. It's kind of like, you know, don't go into a new day like this, or I don't know, life is short.
Don't skip the cuddle.
Yeah, but sometimes I feel like I don't like to go to sleep on an argument. I want it finished. But I understand that Curtis, he's better, fresher in the morning. It's a better perspective. If I keep arguing till like late in the night, I don't even know what I'm arguing about anymore.
I don't think that scripture is talking about don't go to bed without having to resolve an issue. If you're married to me, for example, you need to go to bed. And it's not any argument. It's certain, very rare, but it does happen where I'm like, right, I need to just take some time out. And it's better to deal with me the next day. And when the heat, it's like a pressure cooker, when you let the steam out, then you can manage business until the steam's gone out. Yeah, until the steam comes out. And don't get me wrong, Winnie, I just want to be clear, I'm not an angry person.
I didn't say you was.
Yeah, but you just pointed to us.
No, I just
guys, like whoever is listening to this, I don't know who needs to hear this, but do not argue when you are hungry.
Oh gosh.
What?
You don't bother me.
Yeah, that was bother me.
No.
Yeah.
No,
argue when you're hungry.
Yeah. Blood sugar goes down. You just
I don't argue when I'm hungry.
No. As soon as things start getting heated, just eat something. And then you see that.
Yeah, because you said this.
As soon as you eat, like the anger just disappears.
It just does.
Yeah.
So there's a tip.
It's magic.
Eat
before you argue.
Eat and argue, because it could happen. To Jamaicans, they're the same thing. Anger and anger is the same thing.
Yeah, don't eat anything that involves knives. Yeah, just something soft, because you don't want to be handling knives while you're arguing. Right. So
finger food,
but something soft.
Yeah, finger food.
Eat fufu and argue.
But it's hot though.
Yeah, I guess you could still cause some harm, probably.
Yeah.
I've never thought about fufu as a weapon. Now you look what you've done. Look what you've done now.
No. Like the fufu we made this week was hot. That could be a weapon. Like,
yeah.
That's what you get for trying to hit me with fufu.
Oh gosh.
Sorry.
Guys, we thank you so much, man.
That wasn't it.
Sorry?
That wasn't it.
No, you haven't got corona, no. Is what you're saying? Okay. Because he's accused me of having it as well. But it's contained. The corona is in this house only. We thank you so much for...
it's not in this house, in the name of Jesus.
No, we haven't got it. We thank you for your time and your education. We will have this on YouTube as well. But we need more of you guys because you've got more to say.
Yeah, seriously, it's been so resourceful, so rich. And I know you have only been in a year.
Is it a year?
A year? Nearly?
It is a year of the civil marriage and 2 months short of a year from the church marriage. So
well, you lot are rolling deep already. So you know what I mean? Add some more on that and you'll be selling out stadiums once this thing's all over.
Listen, you guys have been inspirational, so thank you for having us. Like,
when
I grow up, 20 years from now, I want to be like you guys.
Hey, behave yourself. We're not that old.
Yeah, but you know, when we grow up, we want to be like you as well.
Yeah,
so
we do.
It goes both ways.
Yeah, we share and learn from. That's why we do this. Because no matter how many years you've been married, or you know what I mean, it's no race, it's no competition. That's why we do this. Is to learn from others and to draw strength from others, to get some tips from others, and to share with the rest of the 15 people that we had on. Yeah. So that's what we love to do. Do you know what I mean? So thank you for being a part of it. Yeah.
Say again.
It's a constant lesson.
Yeah.
Like
There's
you're
a couple of
constantly learning. There's something new all the time.
We wanted to give a couple of shout outs because some people are on here consistently.
I think there's a couple of their friends were already taking the time out to show their views. Is it Vina Frenchy?
Vivi Frenchy. I know Vivi Frenchy, and I was like, Vina Frenchy. I know you both. No, they're not. You know her from London Live. That JL's lovely friend.
Oh right. So what's the other Frenchie then?
Frenchie is. She's hilarious. She needs her own TV show. Like seriously, I'll show you her later. She looks like Beyonce's sister, like Solange, but she needs her own TV show. She is just. Mwah. And we've got Brick Kids.
Brick's Kids.
Brick's Kids. I'm assuming that's Craig.
Yeah.
Thank you, Craig, for your wise words and contributions. Curly Fries, we miss you, mate, at church. I know we got Harriet. Thanks, Harriet. I know you got us on the last minute yesterday, but thank you. I'll say no, thank you so much. And your doctor friend, I can't remember. I think he was in the first.
It's Pav's friend.
Pav's friend in the first section because this is our second section.
Quoting love song.
Yeah.
Dr. Predrag, yeah, big shout out to Dr. Predrag, yeah.
Yes, that's it.
Thank you all, man. I think we're gonna do this again, if you don't mind.
Yeah, let's do it. I would love this.
But I would love both of you in next time.
I will see. No, I get involved somehow, so.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, it's gonna happen soon. I think hopefully in the next couple of weeks we'll just we'll get you back on again, man, because you've got more to share. Thank you. Oh, question. Can I ask how long you guys have been married?
Which guys?
You guys, because we know Keisha, so she knows us.
Oh, about a year.
Yeah.
About a year.
How long have you been together?
Depends on how you count.
Yeah, it does.
You know, because we had a time when we were not together.
Yeah.
So from the from the first time, we've known each other for 7 years almost. Yeah. The first time we got together was 6 years ago, but then the final time we got together was 5 years ago. So there you go, 7, 6, and 5. But 5 is the last get together point.
The last day.
Well done.
So we were dating and being engaged for 4 years. Dating 3 of those, being engaged for 1 year, and then got married. So yeah.
So you guys, I will just throw this in before we end. Before another question comes in, you should really just get more of your experience out there. So would love to be a part of that at least some of the way. Because people that were not. I think especially those. Yeah,
the first years. Either the best or really tricky. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the first few years, and I think some couples do it differently, you know. But you guys are good. You're still standing, and we need that so much because a lot of people are suffering in silence, confused, don't know where to turn, can't afford a counsellor. This is a free service right now, and guys are really helping. Thank you.
Carlo joined us. Carlo, man, I'm so embarrassed, man. And you know, Carlo, I've been ghosting him for so long because things just keep happening. And every morning, listen, I tell my wife every time she says, "Oh, what are plans for the afternoon?" I'm like, "Oh, I need to respond to some messages." When I say some messages,
you mean Carlo?
I mean about 3, 4 people, and Carlo's one of them. And it's just, you know.
Now he's caught you there.
Carlo, please bear with me. I'm coming.
We'll just give him another, what do you call it? Instagram live?
He says, "Lol, it's cool."
No, you can, just after this, you can talk to him.
Yeah, I'm going to call Carlo after this, actually. That's what I'm going to do.
Send our love.
Carlo, big up, man. Thanks for tuning in. This is going forever, you know.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, we need to just end it, because otherwise
it's going to be going on forever.
See you guys soon. God bless you all.
You take care.
All right.
Lovely talking to you too.
Take care, guys. Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Thank you for this. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hey guys, thank you for tuning in. This is still rolling. Hands up, Vivi, Carlo.
Hey, Carlo.
You guys tuning in. Listen, we'll be doing this tomorrow again with another couple. We are staying safe. You stay safe, bro. See you tomorrow, 8 o'clock, I think.
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Another couple, another topic.
Yeah.
God bless.
All right. Take care.